The epic battle of Ragnar Lothbrok, the Viking warrior who changed history. In the cold, misty northern lands of Scandinavia, where the sea crashes against rocky shores and the sky is an endless gray, there lived a man whose name would echo through the centuries, Ragnar Lothbrok. A warrior, king, and legend, Ragnar's life was filled with epic battles that would shape the future of the Viking world. But one of his most thrilling and brutal engagements was his legendary clash with King Aella of Northumbria, a battle that would cement his place in history. It all began in the early 9th century, when Ragnar, already a seasoned warrior, sought to expand his influence across the seas. Northumbria, a kingdom in what is now England, was rich in wealth and fertile land, a prize every Viking raider coveted. Ragnar's first raids in the region were successful. He plundered monasteries, looted villages, and established his reputation as a ruthless and cunning warrior. But as Ragnar's fame grew, so did his enemies. Among them was King Aella, a man who saw Ragnar as a threat to his kingdom's stability and his own personal glory. The Viking raids had become a plague upon the kingdom, and Aella knew that he had to put an end to Ragnar's raids if he wanted to maintain control. However, Aella's mistake was underestimating the Viking king. Ragnar was no ordinary raider. He was a master strategist, a warrior whose ability to turn the tide of battle with his cunning and ferocity was legendary. In the winter of 873 AD, Ragnar decided it was time to launch a full-scale invasion of Northumbria. He assembled a formidable fleet of longships, the iconic Viking vessels designed for speed and agility. The ships cut through the icy waters, their black sails billowing in the cold northern wind. Ragnar's fleet made its way up the River Trent, moving swiftly through the British Isles like a storm on the horizon. Aella, aware of Ragnar's approach, gathered his forces, preparing for the inevitable clash. The two sides would meet at Repton, a town known for its strategic importance. The Vikings were known for their brutality, but it was Ragnar's intelligence and understanding of warfare that would turn this battle into one of the most remarkable stories of Viking history. On the morning of the battle, a thick fog lay over the battlefield, making it seem as though the gods themselves had shrouded the land in mystery. The air was cold, the ground wet from the overnight rain. The warriors stood face to face, each army bristling with anticipation. Ragnar, clad in his armor of iron and wolf pelts, stood tall on his warship, surveying the field. His Viking warriors, battle-hardened and ready for blood, lined up behind him. On the opposite side, Aella's army was equally determined, ready to defend their land from the Viking scourge. With a thunderous roar, the battle began. The Vikings charged first, their long axes raised high as they rushed toward the shield wall of Aella's soldiers. The sound of steel clashing against steel, the cries of men locked in mortal combat, filled the air. It was a chaotic frenzy of battle, a clash of two cultures, the disciplined Anglo-Saxons and the wild, unrelenting Vikings. Ragnar was at the forefront, leading his men with ferocity and skill. His long sword cut through the air like lightning, taking down enemies left and right. His warriors followed his lead, breaking through the shield wall and wreaking havoc among Aella's forces. But Aella was no fool. He knew that the Vikings could not be underestimated. As the battle raged on, Aella's forces began to regroup, forming tighter formations to hold their ground. The Saxon archers released arrows from behind their shield walls, targeting Ragnar and his warriors. For a moment, it seemed as though the tide might turn in favor of the Anglo-Saxons. But Ragnar was not a man to give up so easily. He had one final trick up his sleeve, a tactic that would make even the fiercest of warriors pause. Ragnar signaled to his berserkers, the fiercest warriors in his ranks, known for their rage-fueled frenzy in battle. These men were no ordinary soldiers. They were trained to fight with an almost supernatural strength, their fury unmatched. With a battle cry that echoed through the mist, the berserkers surged forward, charging through the enemy lines like a tidal wave. They tore through the Saxon formations, leaving a trail of devastation in their wake. Ragnar's warriors followed closely behind, their battle axes cutting through armor and flesh. Slowly but surely, the Viking tide began to overwhelm Aella's forces. The battle had turned in favor of Ragnar, but there was one final, brutal twist. As the Saxons began to retreat, King Aella himself rode onto the battlefield, determined to face Ragnar one-on-one. The two leaders locked eyes across the chaos, and the air seemed to freeze. Aella, in his heavy armor, charged at Ragnar, his sword raised high. The two warriors clashed with a deafening roar. Ragnar's sword met Aella's in a shower of sparks, the sound of steel against steel ringing out across the battlefield. The fight between the two kings was a test of skill and strength, with neither man willing to give an inch. Ragnar's movements were swift and precise, his every strike designed to cripple and disarm. Aella, though a skilled fighter, could not match Ragnar's raw power and experience. In a final, brutal exchange, Ragnar struck a blow that would change the course of history. With a swift, powerful swing, he disarmed Aella and sent the Saxon king sprawling to the ground. Aella, defeated and broken, knew that he had lost. But Ragnar's victory would come at a steep price. The battle at Repton marked the beginning of a new era in Viking warfare. Ragnar had proven his might and cunning, but his victory came with a heavy cost. His warriors were wounded, his fleet damaged, and the harsh winter was closing in. Despite the victory, Ragnar knew that his war with Aella was far from over. The Saxon king, humiliated but not yet broken, would soon seek revenge. In the months that followed, Ragnar's forces would face many more challenges. But the battle at Repton would forever be remembered as one of the most brutal and decisive conflicts of the Viking Age. Ragnar Lothbrok's battle against King Aella was a testament to the Viking spirit, a spirit that could not be defeated by mere force of arms. Ragnar's leadership, strategic brilliance, and unrelenting will to win ensured that the Vikings would remain a dominant force in the medieval world. Though Ragnar's life would eventually come to a tragic end, his legacy lived on. His children, including the famous Ivar the Boneless and Bjorn Ironside, would continue to carry his banner, leading Viking raids and establishing their own kingdoms. The story of Ragnar Lothbrok is one of war, bravery, and relentless pursuit of glory. It's a reminder that, in the world of the Vikings, only the strongest and most cunning could rise above the chaos and claim their place in history. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like and comment.